Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On Podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another podcast. On today's show, I'm excited to have Tim Cox. He's the co-founder of CarNow, and today we're going to be talking about their BuyNow software, which is helping dealers create a modern retail experience. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Brian. Looking forward to having a great conversation.
So, Tim, there's surely most dealers know about CarNow as you've really taken the auto industry by storm with your first-class handling of consumers through normal chat engagement. Can you tell the dealers who are listening today who may not know too much about CarNow how you guys got started, how long you've been in the business?
Sure. So CarNow officially kicked off in December of 2014. My background started in the car business at 17 years old in 1989. Ages me a bit, but coming up on 30 years now in June. And sat behind the desk. My partner, have several partners, but my partner Andy walked into my dealership, which was a Lexus store in Atlanta, way back in 2013. And Andy is a veteran of the software space, and we just started a conversation. And from that led into our first product, and CarNow really is wrapped around what dealers on a day-to-day basis struggle with. They struggle with many vendors, many digital platforms, whether it's SEO, SEM, third parties, whatever. What is working, and just getting people to my store. Don't show me reports that, although some numbers are necessary, let's show and let's concentrate on what is selling cars. So from the very beginning, I am a advocate. We are an advocate for the dealer. We are begging people. I think our growth has come because we beg dealers to measure us. Obviously products like VistaDash, Clairvoyant, others that, or a dealer that has a great understanding of Google Analytics. Really measuring us to see. Giving a customer a white glove experience is actually getting them into the store at a higher rate. And we found that it has.
Well, I first heard of you through one of my clients, and he had mentioned that he switched chat providers, went with CarNow, and he was just blown away with the results. Since then, we've got to know each other very well. So excited and proud of your progress. But let's shift from the company's origins to its evolution into the field of digital retailing. Tim, what made your team feel that helping dealers create a modern retail experience was right up in your wheelhouse?
Well, Brian, a lot of people don't know that was always on the product roadmap from the very beginning when we first launched our first store. In fact, one of the Hank Aaron's partner who started the Hank Aaron Automotive Group here in Atlanta, when he saw our product for the first time, he said, this was 5 years ago, he said, this is digital retailing. So it's always been on the roadmap, but when you're building anything, you need to make sure that you stay on the roadmap and that your direction, as I say, your direction determines your destination. So we wanted to stay on that path. Even from the beginning, we had an idea, although obviously it's all everybody's talking about now. This is where it was going, and it's just it was a timing process of making that happen. Now a little over a year and a half or 2 years ago.
And Tim, just so for our listeners today, your BuyNow platform is website agnostic, right? It can work on any website platform.
Yes, and we find that very important to us. We've got great friends across pretty much all website platforms, have been really some great people to work with. The guys at Fusion Zone, Brett, Joe Chura, Dealer Inspire. So we've got to know a lot of these guys and work really well, but that was very important to us to be agnostic so we could be a plug and play system, no matter what website the dealer was using.
And that's so important with dealer groups, right? As dealer groups approach digital retailing, they may have some required dealer.com sites, some required CDK websites. The average mid-sized group probably has 3 or 4 different website platforms. If they're all located in a local metro market, having different digital retailing tools on different websites would really confuse the customer and hurt their branding. Do you see that a platform agnostic DR tool is exactly what midsize and large dealer groups need?
100%. To be able to, with any, the great Marcus Lemonis, right, of the TV show The Prophet, he always says, people, process, product. And we say basically the same thing. It's whatever product you install has got to be able to, and this is vital. We cannot, whether it's my company or anybody else's company, we can't give dealers, hey, this is our solution, and you're just going to have to make it work, whether you're a small dealership in New Hampshire that sells 60 or you're a Toyota store in South Florida that's selling 700. It's not possible. So being, chameleon-esque, being able to wrap your tool around the people that are in that particular store and then therefore creating a process is where we've seen success. Being able to customize, where leads are routed to, who gets notified, and then creating a process inside the store.
So, Tim, as we've seen digital retailing come as a topic of conversation, some dealers have said, hey, we've been doing digital retailing for years. This is a silly term. I've been starting to use a modern retail experience. From your perspective, why should dealers get involved now if they're profitable, if they have good process that have been working for 10, 20, 30 years? What do you tell dealers is the reason they need to be first to market or first to act rather than just sitting back and waiting?
That's a great question, Brian, because that's what we talk about all the time. It doesn't matter what I think. And quite frankly, it doesn't matter what any company thinks. It's what the consumers are telling us. It's Carvana sold more cars last quarter than Asbury did. So what does that tell us? CarMax right now is averaging $1,200 PVR higher than every other franchise dealer in the country on average. What is that telling us? That's telling us, and it's not debatable, it's telling us that people want a better experience and they want to at least start that experience online. Now, we had the privilege, we actually bought a car through Carvana. Aaron Baldwin, who is a partner of ours here at CarNow, God blessed him with twins. He needed a bigger car. So I sat down with him right next to me. His office is right next to mine, and he bought that car. It was not just one session. He had 4 separate chats, which I was not a part of. He had 8 separate phone calls. He acquired his own financing. So, and when they delivered the car, they did a fabulous job. They delivered the car. There was, they knew he was having twins. There was a box of onesies and a box of diapers in the back, or excuse me, a Carvana onesie, and a box of diapers and wet ones in the back. So amazing job. But the person driving the truck was a notary. And in that truck was a deal jacket, just like we've been selling. I was selling cars like that 15, 20 years ago in my stores. But I promise you, Brian, that if anybody, any dealer would ask any of those thousands and thousands of customers that have bought a car on Carvana, hey, did you buy your car online? Absolutely, I did. It was an amazing experience. You're not going to believe it. I didn't have the hassle. I got the price, but at the same time, no, they didn't. There's not one thing they did online that a dealership could not do. So that's what we preach. Listen, that's what your customers are telling you. You know, the study, I think about the study that Chip Perry did, and then Urban Science backed it up and asked the same questions. They asked people, how much further, 2,700 consumers, how much further would you drive? How much more would you pay? 58% said that they would pay up to $1,000 more if they knew they were going to have a better experience. 89% said they'd drive 30 minutes further. But listen, I'm an old car guy. I understand. It's very difficult, especially if you're doing well, to figure that you need to do something different. But again, not my words, but when we study, most importantly, not data, but when we study human behavior and how people are buying and what they're buying and when they're buying, that is the most important thing. So for a dealer that's successful, to wrap this up, a dealer that's successful, they're going to pick up incremental business if they create that experience online versus their competition in their own PMA.
Yeah, I agree, Tim. You know, there's been so many great conversations I've had this week. I was speaking with Matt Weinberg from Drive Motors, and he said, Brian, no dealer ever said, oh, I put up my website too early. I should have waited a few more years. You know, like this is the time to see that a paradigm shift is happening and dealers want to increase sales and consumers want a faster and easier experience. That's why I named my book Just Faster, which is a discussion on digital retailing and what needs to change to meet consumer demand. I bought a car this weekend and I thought I was going to buy a Chevy Traverse. I ended up buying a Honda Pilot. The Honda dealer locally that I picked, I had no business experience with, but their website said no smoke and mirrors. And aside from their BDC process still being a little old school, I was able to get a transactionable price before I got into the dealership with the whole deal jacket numbers. And there was no smoke and mirrors. I walked in. I was out of the dealership in an hour and 15 minutes. I thought that was awesome. It wasn't as smooth as I would like it to have been because I had to kind of muscle the fact that I understood how the automotive industry worked, but it was getting close. And that was great for me because I knew that dealers are willing, as some at least, to step out of their comfort zone and do things that would only have been reserved for the FNI office. So let's talk about FNI for a moment. How is BuyNow presenting FNI products? Are you working with FNI Express? Are you working with Penn? Are you doing it a little differently? Obviously, consumers like myself this weekend, I knew the car I wanted. I liked the transaction price that was listed on the website. I just wanted a 7-year extended warranty. How are you getting the FNI products that dealers normally disclose in the box online?
Another great question. It's almost like you've done this once or twice before. Look, when you go into any dealership, dealers across the country, especially small market dealers, I've had these conversations with dealer principals. They're like, look, Tim, I have a Mazda store in New Hampshire. I'm making $300 on every car. I'm making, $800 to $1,000 on every VSC that I sell. It is crucial. We have those numbers through our tool. We're seeing of the deals coming through. The people that complete an entire process, we're seeing a 3% of those people are actually putting it in their shopping cart. Now, when I give you that number, I want you to think about this. At the same time, we're seeing a 24.2% increase in F&I products before our tool and after our tool. And it's not that we're brilliant. It's not that any company that offers F&I products is brilliant. What's happening is, way back in the day when I was in the dealership, my PVR on the back end went up over 300 a copy in the F&I office when I did two things. When I added an extra monitor in the F&I manager's office, that way when the F&I manager was loading it up, they could be watching a video on a VSC, why they needed gap, why they needed ceramic, whatever that may be. And when I started spiffing salespeople to show them those products, whether it's Stone Guard or whatever it is, earlier in the process. When we plant seeds with consumers and when they start shopping, like most of them do online, when we plant these seeds, they're more apt to purchase them in the business office. So it's not necessarily, you can't really judge it by, are they putting this in the cart? What we're doing is we're planting seeds, and with our tool, we've actually got an integration to where they can watch a video because we think video is so important in everything we do here at CarNow on why that VSC is important, why gap insurance or tire and wheel or whatever it is so important. And it's already in the back of their mind. So therefore, when the salesperson or when the F&I manager does show these great products, they are more inclined to purchase them. And again, we're seeing about a 24.2% increase in F&I from before and after the tool.
That's great. And for me, I thought that, the best decision for me was a Honda extended warranty. When I got to the dealership, they believed, I think the JM&A has a product which is a vehicle service contract. And they were kind of explaining the differences is that, hey, this works at any dealership, not just a Honda dealership, blah, blah, blah. And of course, all that information wasn't online. And as you mentioned, videos, that's really important. Just a common video, especially for dealers who are using third-party warranties. What's the difference between a Honda extended warranty and a JM&A VSC? Tim, core to what I believe today and the evolution of DR is that consumers don't know how to buy their own car. They do lease maybe every 3 years, maybe buy every 5 or 6 years. And so having an assistant or some type of interactive help, whether it's a chatbot and a live person, part of the process seems critical. When we tested consumers in November of last year at the Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit, we found that consumers got stuck. So as a chat company, as really a communications platform, you have that culture built in. What if somebody says, hey, you don't need an assistant, consumers can do this on their own? How do you respond? Because not all DR products have an integrated communication platform built in.
Look, there's a lot of great products out there. And first, let me say that I truly believe, I was talking to the guys actually on the panel that you had at NADA. I truly believe, like Amit and some others, that a rising tide raises all ships. Every talk, whether I had the privilege to talk with you or any conference, people could care less what I think, okay? I'm just going to tell you what's working and what people are saying and what dealers are saying, because it doesn't matter what Tim Cox thinks. It just doesn't. We are seeing a 32% higher lead to close rate when people initiate a conversation within our tool, period. End of story. They're buying more cars. And I know you've interviewed some dealers that are using the tool. And again, at the end of the day, I'm an advocate for just that. A tool, it's great to create an experience and all that's fine. But at the end of the day, it's about selling cars. And I would argue that same test, if you would give that to any digital retailing platform, whether it's ours or anybody else's, and give it to a salesperson in the store that's been there a month or 2 months or 2 years and ask them to go through the process, they might get stuck. So we're asking consumers that buy a car every 5 to 7 years, or at least, every 4 years, to navigate that process. And that's why it's so crucial. And look, sometimes people they just want to, they don't want to be bothered. That's true. Every single person is not going to want to have that conversation. But what we are finding here at our company is that when they do have a conversation, again, there's a 32% better chance that we're going to sell that car.
Well, listen, I'll go back to my own experience. I knew the car I wanted. I have a Honda Pilot up in New Jersey. I wanted this car for our Florida house. I didn't need to test drive it. I knew exactly the car that was on their website. I liked the price and the discounts that they offered. The only thing that I really wanted to know is how much a service contract would be, and then how much taxes, fees, and all that. Now, they did have a DR tool, and it took me over 3 or 4 times to communicate to the sales team that, listen, I wasn't coming in until I saw what the cost of the extended warranty and what my final payments. I mean, I had to go through a lot of hoops. It would have been so much easier, since I knew exactly what I wanted, to go in, have a DR tool, select an external service contract, and then chat with somebody saying, hey, what's the difference between the Honda extended warranty, Honda Care, whatever they call it, and this VSC through JM&A. That's all I needed to know. I would say, great, take my credit card, take my deposit, I'm coming in to buy the car. Of course, it took a little time, but they were ready when I came in. So we're getting close. Dealers always like to hear about success stories, Tim, and you mentioned it, and you and I have talked that you've replaced some DR tools, and dealers have been amazed at the lift. Set some expectation. I've said that we're in the first or second inning of digital retailing. If somebody has good sales process, and if somebody is willing to adapt to a modern retail experience, disclosing more online, giving the consumer more information, more specific information of customized and personalized payments. If they installed your tool, how many cars a month, based on their total sales, would you say people go through the tool with? How would you set expectation on, are they going to sell 10 cars, are they going to sell 20 cars, or are they going to sell 2?
Well, that depends on the car. Is there 2,000 unique visitors? Is there 30,000 unique visitors? How many people are going to the website, right? And it depends on the process. We've got some stores that are selling between, Fred Emick out in Denver selling, between 20 and 30 cars a month, just through the tool. That's excluding chat and text message conversations. The most important thing, and we've even defined it in our process, and it may sound a little biased, but we tell the dealer, look, because some dealers, and I used to be one of them, yeah, I'll try it. Let me just see. Yeah, let's throw it up on the website and we'll give it 60 days and see what happens. Whether it's our company or any other company, it requires input from the dealer because that's just not going to work. I see dealers all the time. Listen, forget you're selling cars. Think about how you want to be treated when you're buying anything, and then try to duplicate that great experience inside your store. The disconnect with every single digital retailing tool, whether it's successful or not successful inside a dealership, is when that customer, when you, Brian, went online, when whoever goes online, they configure payments. And by the way, you need to make sure the payments are correct. But they configure payments, they do everything online, then they show up at the store and they're greeted with, oh, I'm sorry, who are you here to see? And then, it's crickets. That has got to be seamless. The success stories are creating those champions inside the store, whether it's one person or a multitude of people. I have to say this. I just had the privilege of signing a very large dealer group in the Midwest, and they were kind of scratching their heads because I said, listen, guys, this is going to sound goofy, but I don't want to sell our digital retailing process unless you're totally committed because it's not going to work. So they scratched their head because they had some stores that were in pretty rural areas that only sell 20, 30, 40 a month. And they were trying to figure out, well, goodness, how am I going to get a champion like I have in our bigger city stores in this smaller store? So we came up with the idea, look, they had a BDC. Let's create champions within the BDC that are going to look at that dashboard, know what the trade is, create that experience online, and then hand it off. So I'd like to share that with your listeners. If you are in a smaller store, maybe you create a centralized, what we have found to work, a centralized DR champion that therefore can delegate, hey, listen, this is Mr. Smith. This is his trade. This is where he wants his payments to be. He's going to be there between 6:30 or 7. He's going to even ask for fill or bill, right? That type of process, that way we can cover. But again, that is the key ingredient to making any of this work, is being able to continue that white glove conversation when they get into the store. The customer feels easier. And our dealers are even telling us they're making more gross because of treatment that they're giving their consumers.
And Tim, we mentioned price and you mentioned any retail experience. So let's dive into this one topic. In order to transact any goods, you have to have a selling price. Dealers have a tremendous amount of data in their DMS. They push out inventory feeds through companies like vAuto or even Dealer Inspire Metal. But there seems to be a divide. Some companies are saying, hey, in order for this to work, you have to have direct integration with a DMS. I have other people saying, look, Brian, DR today, no one's wet penciling a deal or doing electronic signatures in any scale. So getting accurate payments and rebates and FNI products can all be done without the DMS. What's CarNow's position as the need today, 2019, with certified DMS integration versus providing a useful tool? What's the path that you see for CarNow?
The path is we are seeing, I would concur with all of our companies, other companies out there. We're only seeing between, on a good month, 4.5% completion rate start to finish as far as, digitally signing any deal. I will tell you that what is unique, we do have a desking tool. So a customer that comes in through our tool will have the ability, if they figure and configure their own payments, they could literally send that to a desk manager or multiple people in the store, and they could literally pencil the deal back and forth while they are online. And we have seen that being used many, many times on a daily basis with obviously with all the stores that we have live. So I think it's crucial. As we evolve, not to give anything away, you may see that coming as we get a more robust type desking platform. But that ability, we think is crucial. We built our tool to mimic inside the car dealership. What happens when that customer says, you know what, I need to go talk to my wife? What happens when that manager needs to go out and take that turn and see if they can close that? So we've built tools inside our tool to create that experience and make sure that that manager can get involved and jump into any conversation that's happening live.
Tim, as we close our interview today, and I appreciate your insights, you mentioned about this Midwest group, which you challenged them, hey, this is not something you just throw on your website like Field of Dreams and the consumer will come and buy. And it's a miracle cure to ailing sales. If there was one thing, one word of advice for dealers who are on the edge, they're trying to figure out which tool it will fit their culture, what's one thing that you would recommend they resolve before making a commitment to DR?
They've got to be committed. They personally have to be committed. They've got to be excited, and their excitement's got to be infectious, and they've got to be committed that it's going to work. And they could start slow. For example, we have the ability, we could give a digital retailing light, for example, even if they just want to start with, just using, putting payments, lease payments and finance payments on every single VDP, and then just putting up a simple calculator and then watching the data from there. That's a great place to start. We could provide that for them if they do not want the full blown deal. I would also suggest that they, if they are having these questions, first they need to make a decision. I can't wait for our talk at DMSC. The great Andy Stanley, I heard him talk and said, your direction determines your destination, not your intention. So a dealer, a GM can have the best intentions, but there's things that you have to do to prepare for a trip. When you're planning a trip, first you got to figure out where you want to go. Do I want to get into digital retailing? And secondly, you have to decide how you're going to get there on a trip. Or am I going to drive? Am I going to fly? What are the steps that I have to take to make sure that my store is successful? So you need to, number one, make the decision that you are going to be committed to making this work, because what consumers are telling us is that this is what they want, whether you have it on your website or not. So A, first make the decision, and then B, analyze the employees, the human resources that you have, and see who may be a good fit within your organization to champion the cause.
Well, I'd have to agree with you, Tim. Just my personal experience this weekend. Carrie's experience 2 months ago, she wanted a specific car, and one of our industry friends said, let me take care of everything for you. We were traveling. Everything was done remotely. She arrived in Florida, drove down to the dealership. The car was waiting for her. They went over the car. She left. She came back and said, man, that was amazing. Why isn't every car buying experience like that? And I said, well, that was because we have some friends in the industry. But truly, I see in the days ahead that as the technology bumps work out, as more dealers share best practice and process, as documented results come out, I think we'll start to see more of a take up nationally for dealers who are willing to, give the consumer the experience they want while still protecting profits. And that's the magic balancing act. For dealers who are listening today, keep in mind that the 10th Annual Digital Marketing Strategies Conference and the Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit are two great venues to see, touch, and hear about digital retailing. The 2019 DMSC conference is in May in the Napa Valley, and the Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit's November in Palm Beach, Florida. Obviously, you don't have to wait until then to learn more about CarNow. Tim, what's the best way for dealers to get some more information on the BuyNow platform?
Sure. They can go to carnow.com and click on information. They can obviously they can click chat or text there at the bottom, have a conversation with any of our agents here in Atlanta. Or I'd love to even give my cell phone. I'd love to, I'm one of those guys that I absolutely eat, breathe, sleep the car business. I love it. I will tell you that we're not perfect, but we partner very, very well. So please call my cell phone directly. I'd love to answer any questions, even if you're not using us or using another tool. Allow me. I'd be happy to serve you. And as we say, let's just get better together. So my cell phone number is 770-480-7695. Again, that number is 770-480-7695. I do spend a lot of time on a plane, so if I don't answer, I promise that I will call you immediately back, and hopefully I have the privilege of serving you and partnering with you in the future.
Well, Tim, that's a very generous offer, and I hope dealers take you up on that. I know firsthand about your passion and protection of your dealer clients. This podcast is part of a series in digital retailing for automotive. We're interviewing 20 top leaders and visionaries who are trying to help dealers create a modern retail experience to give them a competitive edge now, but long term help the automotive industry remain relevant in the current franchise model. So every Monday, we release a new podcast. So check the schedule and you can see all of the podcasts that are available at brianpash.libsyn.com. That's LIBSYN.com. Thanks again, Tim, for being on the show, and we look forward to sharing more time with you in the weeks ahead on the Pash On podcast.